Hello, everyone, and welcome to Upstream's 2020 Christmas Mixer. It's been a very mixed up year, very strange year for everyone. And because at Upstream, we believe that local networks enable organizations, people, and areas to grow and create a sense of community. We wanted to do this. And let's face it, we all need community these days, and I'm sure everybody's in need of a friend or three. So if you're not already part of the Upstream community, I do hope tonight will show you its worth and get you signed up. Team Upstream's work is to connect, to support, and shine a light on the science, tech, and creative industries based in Hammersmith and Fulham, and to help transform White City into an innovation district. We're a partnership, for those of you who aren't aware, between Imperial College London and Hammersmith and Fulham Council. And we are just coming up to our third birthday in the new year. But tonight, we're here to celebrate the Upstream community by featuring 5 sets of awesome speakers from the science, tech, and creative industries. And I'm now very delighted to introduce our first speaker, who is Jessica Ellins from the London Institute of Medical Sciences, which is a vibrant research environment in White City, where scientists, clinicians, and patients collaborate to advance the understanding of biology and its application to medicine. Jessica is a PhD student, and she is part of the COVID-19 Tutoring Initiative, CTI, which was established by several Oxbridge students supporting STEM education during lockdown. CTI aims to provide free tutoring to students without access to private tutoring during obviously a slightly difficult time in a lot of schooling careers. So Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today, and over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. Please let me know if you can't hear me or if there's any technical issues. Next slide, please. So yes, as the introduction said, I'm a PhD student at the LMS, which some of you might know, you might work there or on the nearby campus. I am just in my second year, so I started October 2019, so got in a couple of months before it all went to lockdown. Animation. Left the LMS, or we shut down in the third week of March, and then I went back home, back from London to a very small town, York. But I'm not going to be talking about my PhD today, which lucky for you. I'm actually going to be talking about the Coronavirus Tutoring Initiative, which as you now know, is an initiative providing free tutoring for disadvantaged pupils across the UK. And we use this platform here, which in the bottom left corner, which is just a screenshot of the platform we use, which is Bramble. So it's an amazing platform. It's all online, and it allows a video function and like a shared whiteboard with your tutee. And you also get a recording of all the sessions, and because all the sessions are recorded, it's also allowing us to actually do this from a safeguarding perspective. So all of our tutors, or the vast majority of our tutors, are university students, because they have a lot more free time, especially when universities kind of broke up because of the pandemic. But we also definitely welcome graduates and especially those who might have DBS checks already. Next slide, please. So just a bit about my journey with CTI. So like I said, I went home from London in April, was very kind of morose and sad and tired and just a bit bored. And luckily I came across this on Facebook that a friend just shared a post about the Coronavirus Tutoring Initiative, and I signed up in April alongside about 2,000 other university students who signed up within the first week. I was assigned 2 year 10 tutees, one in biology, one in maths. And then back in May, I actually became a member of the publicity team behind the scenes of CTI. And then through a restructure, I was promoted to one of the co-leads back in August. And I also got another student who is a year 8 maths pupil. So it's been a really exciting experience for me. I've learned a lot, especially from the tutoring side of things, but also from the kind of project management and like leading a team and a lot of kind of dealing with other sectors of the team. And we've grown amazingly. Like it's been absolutely unbelievable. Definitely one of the, if not the biggest and kind of most influential things I've been a part of. Next slide, please. So just a bit about like how CTI started and how it's grown. So we were set up by Jacob, who went to, or still goes to, Lincoln College at Oxford. A lot of our behind the scenes team is from Oxford because of his connections. But we're also all from, like, obviously I'm from Imperial, and we're all from all over the country. And it was initially set up to target like a few pupils in his local area. He thought maybe he could get a couple of friends on board and they could maybe help, I don't know, 20 pupils. It kind of went crazy within the first week, and we got 2,000 signups for tutors. And so I was brought into the publicity team at a time where we were like, oh, we actually need to get more tutees, which was quite a nice way. Now we're kind of obviously wanting more tutors. It kind of, you know, fluctuates. But currently we have over 2,000 pupils with over 4,000 tutors. So there's an imbalance there because pupils are allowed, we allow them, or they're allowed to put 3 subjects on their kind of, so they're allowed tutoring in 3 subjects. So there was an imbalance between the number of pupils and tutors. And we've reached just recently 33,000 hours of tutoring on Bramble. And behind the scenes, we have 60 team members, which is just a crazy number, but it's a really fun kind of group to be a part of. Next slide, please. Can't remember how many slides I have now. Just a thing about why it's important. You can check all these graphics out on our Instagram account, which I've got a link to at the end. Our amazing graphic designers who I kind of manage did all of this. But obviously, as I'm sure you're aware, with school closures currently, like especially tier 3 areas with kind of massively increasing COVID numbers, a lot of pupils are having to self-isolate when one person in their bubble of like 20, 30 pupils gets COVID. So both of my tutees who I have currently, they've each had at least 2 weeks off from school just because someone in their bubble has had it. And disadvantaged pupils are disproportionately affected by these closures because tends to be the lower socioeconomic areas that are more affected. And also they're less likely to have access to private tutoring if they're at home, and a whole host of things. And this just exacerbates the kind of finding that disadvantaged pupils in general are kind of very much behind their advantaged peers. So this stat in the middle here is one we've been talking about a lot, that they're over 18 months behind by the time they get to their GCSEs. So next slide, please. So basically, to sum up, we really need, this is really an amazing initiative. We've been overawed by the interest in it. And we have a wait list of about 200 pupils at the moment. We've been trying to cut down on this wait list. We're currently doing the access team on CTI, doing an amazing job at doing a Christmas initiative as a kind of short-term but a more intensive period of tutoring, because obviously they've got January mocks, a lot of them, and the mocks, as I'm sure you're aware, are probably going to be more important now than ever. So if you would like to get involved, please do see if you could volunteer with us. It's only an hour a week and it is really very, very rewarding. Or if you can't, maybe you can help donate. We're running on quite a shoestring budget, about £2,000 in total since we were set up in March. So it's like 100 quid a month or something. No, that doesn't add up, but very much shoestring budget, and having a bit more money in the coffers would allow us to do a lot more and reach a lot more people. And above all else, please just follow us on social media and spread the word. If you have pupils in your life who you think would benefit from tutoring, please do sign them up. We've got a waiting list, but we're trying to get through that, so please do sign them up. And yeah, you can reach us at all the below addresses and social media. And thank you for listening. And I'm sorry if that was over 5 minutes.
That's okay. Jessica, thank you so much. I mean, that was an incredible kind of roundup of what you've done this year, basically starting from nothing with a very small team and, working with over 60 people now. So we've got a few questions. The first of all is just a connection point, which is Priya has said she's got a number of requests from White City, North Kent families asking for student tutors. So that's something you can reach. And we've got a couple of questions from Sarah, who's asking, was Bramble an existing platform or?
Yeah, so Bramble was an existing platform, but they were very, very generous and have given us access to it for free.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate them for that. And
Cool.
to answer Sarah's other questions quickly, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Mostly the demand is in STEM subjects, as you can imagine, I guess, because those are ones that children usually struggle with most. And we are continuing until June, July, end of the school year. And then we are hoping to merge with another initiative that is more of an official registered charity that's kind of starting up now. So once that's ready for us, then we can kind of make sure that our tuties can be passed on to them. Yeah, sorry, do we have time for more questions?
You have probably you can question.
One more question. To answer Katrina's question about the high quality internet, yes, definitely. Bramble is not the best platform. I love it because they give it to us for free, but it does require a fairly decent internet connection. So that is probably one of our biggest hurdles, and something we're trying to work with. Like there's like other charities like what's it called, Business for Schools or something, charities which are trying to improve tech availability for disadvantaged pupils. But yeah, definitely that is one of our main obstacles. But yeah, thank you so much for listening and all the questions, and I'm happy to chat about this in the breakout sessions if anyone's interested.
Great. Jessica, thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. I'd like to introduce our second speaker, who is Anish Bagga, who is a local resident and a founder and CEO of Hammersmith-based Unitu, which is a tech startup whose award-winning platform helps university and student unions improve their student experience by providing a simple way for staff to act on student feedback in real time. Unitu has expanded its team and business to help universities meet the challenges the pandemic has thrown at them in what we all know as a rather difficult year for everyone, and particularly university students, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Anish, over to you. I don't think we need slides for you.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to ask Steph if I could just share something. I have a couple of slides and a demo that I wanted to share, if that's okay.
Yeah, you should be able to. You should have permission, so give it a try.
Perfect.
We'll find out.
Can everyone see? Yeah.
Yeah. You can go full screen if you want to.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. So yeah, my name is Anish Bagga. I'm a founder and CEO of Unitu, student voice platform. So I'll just walk through some things such as how we got started, our story and our vision, a little bit about the platform, how it works, and the impact the pandemic has had on our company and the HE sector. So just a little bit of a background. So our focal point is to help, as Prema said, the universities improve their student experience by allowing them to engage with the student voice more effectively. Why we created this, I'll take you back on a short journey. 2010, which now feels like a really long time ago, when I was a year one student. As a sociology student studying LSE, I was very passionate about the educational system, but there was a clear disconnect between how teachers and students were communicating issues that they were experiencing. This occurred through all my years, and I could feel the frustration students are having. And I decided to do my dissertation on this disconnect. And through this research I did, I was able to understand better not only the student experience and the frustration they were experiencing, but also the ways that universities were trying to collect and act on student feedback. And what I started to realize was that there was a challenge in collecting feedback in a timely way. They had meetings, they had surveys, which were all inefficient in being able to know what students are experiencing at the time that they were experiencing it in a scalable way. So I started to build a product and got funding from a well-known organization called JISC, launched the product in 2015. It was successful with one pilot at Roehampton University. Then we started to scale. We have about 15 universities now, going 20 universities in 2021. And through our experience, we started to see through the consistent iterations how student satisfaction was actually increasing. There's a particular measure called the National Student Survey, which university uses to measure if students were actually satisfied with educational experience. And what we found was most of the universities that were using Unitu were able to improve student satisfaction, and we started to get some good coverage as well. And then in 2019, we ended up winning an award for our technical innovation. And you know, in Times Higher Education is the Oscar for universities, and we were one of the ones who won an award for that. So it's been an amazing journey to get where we are. But this is 2019. So come 2020, everything changed, and it really showed the importance that technology has when the COVID struck and lockdown happened on engaging with the student voice. So our platform is built around the student rep system. And it allows students to give feedback, and reps to collect it and present it to staff members. What we believe is if this is done efficiently, it can improve the university experience very effectively. But what we found is there's a lot of challenges. Students are not always aware, reps are not always engaged, and staff, the biggest problem staff have is closing that feedback loop. So what we've developed, and I just want to show you, is a simple software that allows university students to give feedback at any time during the academic experience. So they can say something positive, something negative that's going on, or they want to stop, a question that they have, an idea that they want to suggest. They add the particular feedback post, they add a title, they add a description, they add the keywords, and they notify the relevant students on their course that they want to get further feedback from. And then they post it, and they can post this anonymously as well. Once they click on the feedback and they engage with it, students can vote on it, and they can then have conversations with the students as well. So this is all happening privately before staff members can see it. Then a student rep can say, okay, there's a large percentage of students who have the same issue. They can then escalate it to the open column, and that's when staff members are made aware. And if I just show you a staff account, as a staff member, I can then see that feedback. I can then engage with that feedback. I can then move it into the progress column or the close column and show students what we can and cannot do with their feedback. So it allows the universities to know what students are experiencing at the time they're experiencing it, at the scale of the issue as well, and enable a dialogue in real time that didn't exist with surveys and meetings. What we found was, just going back to the presentation, is the impact the pandemic had on the sector and Unitu. So as soon as March hit, our service went down, and we were up all night trying to fix it and scale it. We ended up having 800% plus increase of engagement on our platform, and it's kind of maintained that level since the pandemic as well. What's been amazing is the efficiency staff and reps have had on the platform. So we're seeing student reps close feedback before it needs to be escalated. It takes still 2 days on average for reps to engage with student feedback, 4 days on average for staff members to respond, and 95% of the feedback posts have still been closed by staff. So what we learned was staff found engaging with Unitu more effective than having to deal with email, because email, they had thousands of messages from anxious students at different periods of the pandemic. Through Unitu, all the students who had access to Unitu were basically channeling all their concerns and anxiety through one platform, and it allowed the university to basically sit there and kind of focus on those key concerns and be able to respond to it in a timely way. And at the end of the year, we did an annual survey to see what our impact was around the student voice. And what we were able to see, the red is the national benchmark, where these questions are given to students on how effective the university is in listening to the student voice. And what we found was in the benchmark was still 76% of students feel like they have the right opportunity to provide feedback. But when we asked students who had Unitu, they said 97% of them had the right opportunities. 85% said they can see how staff value their feedback, and 81% said it's clear how theirs and others' feedback has been acted upon by staff, in comparison to the benchmark of the sector, which is 61% to 55%. And then as a result, a lot of the universities work with scaled across the university, specifically UCL, which was a big challenge, and also We had 5 new university scale across the university from September. So what we realized was our biggest challenge was that our systems and processes were not built to scale that quickly. And that's been our greatest challenge this year. So yeah, hopefully that was under 5 minutes. I rushed through that quite quickly, but happy to take any questions.
I have failed on my timekeeping, so I don't even know whether you have overdone because it was sufficiently interesting. So thank you very much, Anish. We have got a question in the chat, and if anybody's got any more, please pop them in. John from Imperial's asking, where do the traditional student unions fit into this model of engagement?
Yeah, great question. So they actually have a specific role on the platform. We have a feedback board, if you like, which I showed you with the open progress and closed column for the student union, where it's university wide. So they can actually represent the entire student body through the platform and engage with non-academic feedback around student services, accommodation, anything that students are experiencing that's not typically within the department, they can raise on a specific area of the platform that the student union can engage with. In addition to that, they also have access to the private area where only the students and the reps can engage with. So if the reps have any trouble, they can engage with the students there.
Great. Another question was it your experience that the engagement went up due to a lack of information or frustration over the impact of COVID on their experience? That's from Sarah.
Yeah, I think there was 2 reasons why we felt the engagement increased significantly. The first was because, yes, the lack of information, and I believe universities were kind of uncertain themselves, but students didn't really know who to engage with, and no person in the university they knew who could give them the answer. So they were just kind of going to Unitu. But because we work with the universities to have the appropriate people on the platform to have those responses, in a way, those staff members, although didn't know how the answer because everything was changing, they were able to maintain a dialogue with the students in a way where they can relieve those anxieties, or at least work with those anxieties that students were having. What we found was the dialogue maintained a community rather than escalated further frustration.
Yes, very good point. This question from Lucy, and she's asking, do you collate data on key topics stroke issues? Not...
Yeah, absolutely. So so we do this with the university. So we work with each of the universities and we provide them a report on the themes and the trends that students are experiencing. So obviously right now, 2 of the biggest themes is workload, Zoom fatigue, and assessment and feedback issues, because no one knows exactly how their assessments are going to be done, especially the practical ones as well. So it's pretty obvious what would be the key issues right now. But before COVID, you had a variety of different issues from academic to non-academic occurring across the university.
Okay, thank you, Anish. I think that's all we've got time for, but thank you so much. And how much has the company grown this year? Where did you start in January, and how many are there right now?
So we had 4 people in January. We're now 10 people.
Very well done. Congratulations, and thank you very much for sharing what you've done this year. Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
Thanks. Our next speaker is Emily Carter. And Emily is an award-winning British designer specializing in hand-illustrated silk accessories, stationery and furnishings. She's a member of the British Fashion Council and has been featured in Vogue and the FT, and her accessories have been stocked internationally. During the pandemic, she has been upcycling silk cutoffs to make face coverings, with a proportion of proceeds going towards charity. And alongside the business, Emily has also designed for Harrods, where she's created in-house themes and designs. Emily, over to you.
Lovely. Hello, everybody. So I'll just introduce myself again. So my name is Emily Carter, and I own a luxury British fashion brand based in Hammersmith, specialising in hand-illustrated silk accessories, stationery and furnishings. I also have a second business, Emily Carter Studio, which specialises in printed fabrics and textiles licensing. The designs are inspired by a lifelong interest in nature and wildlife, with each print hand illustrated by myself, as you can see from the design on the screen. Each detail is drawn by hand by me. Next slide, please. Each product is made in London by independent tailors, and all products are printed in the UK. My packaging is also recyclable and plastic free, and I support small local businesses who make my luxury packaging for me. The brand is particularly focused on British craftsmanship, and the team and I take great pride in making high quality items that are made to last a lifetime. The brand has been featured regularly in publications such as British Vogue and the Financial Times, and in this month's British Vogue, it was actually worn by Kate Moss, which is incredibly exciting. I'm stocked also in stores such as Selfridges, and in January I'll be launching my first concession within the Bond Street store. Next slide, please. So I had a really interesting and almost awakening experience in lockdown. So prior to COVID-19, I was working as the lead designer for Harrods, which certainly looks good on the CV, but in reality, I was living an exhausting lifestyle of working 7 days a week, trying to run the business simultaneously, which I've been doing for about 6 years, which wasn't a very sustainable way of living. However, during the time that I was furloughed, I was able to focus solely on the business for the first time in my career. And during this 6-month period, I caught up on drawings and designs that I wanted to do for years. And as a result, the business went from strength to strength. I firstly launched silk face coverings, which have been my most successful product of 2020, with a large percentage of profits being donated to the NHS to support COVID-19 relief efforts. I also used the time to develop any waste fabric that I had in storage into upcycled masks and products as well. For some fun, I also started online weekly drawing classes. I recognised a lot of people were really struggling with lockdown, and I thought that offering these classes for free could provide some relief and a distraction for those who are finding the situation at home particularly difficult. They were very successful, and as a result, it's something that I've continued to run throughout the rest of the year. And finally, during lockdown, I developed a small team. So previously I was working with UK factories, which was fine, but I didn't feel comfortable with this as I wanted to build a rapport and business relationship with the people making my products. So I came up with a business model where I could hire independent London-based tailors instead of working with factories. So this will enable me in the future to build long-lasting relationships with my team and ensures that the staff that are working for me are paid and treated well, which, as we know, is often not the case in this industry. I hope this kind of business model could be adapted on a larger scale to create clearer supply chains within the fashion industry in general. So towards the end of the year, it came time for me to return to Harrods. However, I made the exciting decision to change to design consultancy so that I could focus on business instead, which is what I'll be doing for the foreseeable future. And despite the current circumstances, I'm feeling excited and hopeful for the year ahead. So thank you very much for listening. My website and Instagram is on the slide if you'd like to take a look at what I do. Thank you.
Emily, that's absolutely stunning, and what a year for you, hasn't it been? I think. And I suppose the question is that you have done what some people would have liked to have done is the whole I want to change careers, but I can't stop. My foot's always on the gas. I need to keep it on the gas, and you've just taken a pause and just managed to regroup, push ahead with the business. And I think the first question I'd like to ask is actually around independent tailors. Where do you find them, and how do you find them, and who are they?
So actually, I've been very lucky. A lot of my friends are tailors. So I previously met them at different companies that I worked for. So they're mainly Ralph & Russo, ex-Ralph & Russo, which is obviously a couture brand. Really talented people. My other tailor, I allocate different products to different tailors. So one lady does my headwear. She's a really successful hat designer. She's amazing. Others do masks. I'm actually launching ready to wear next year. So I've got other people, ready to do dresses. So each person has their speciality, but I met them at other brands that I've worked for previously, actually.
Okay, and I've got a question from John who's saying, such beautiful design. How do you achieve quality assurance as you scale?
It's a nightmare. Very good question. So actually, for the orders that I've done for Selfridges, I've had to QC them all myself because I've been so paranoid that any of them might have a defect. So I've spent days QCing them with my small team, which isn't a very sustainable way of doing it at the moment. So yes, it's something that I'm having to consider for the long term and figure out a logistical way of doing better.
Okay, interesting. And not 300 miles away from John's question, which is, if you're shifting from factory to individual tailors as a production model, does this also mean an increased emphasis on the provenance of an item and is knowing the provenance valued by loyal customers? Question from Katrina.
In a sense, yes. Yeah, so again, it kind of emphasizes the brand values, I guess, as well, because obviously all of my people that I choose are specifically, they're specifically, good at that item. So yeah, same answer really.
Okay. Right. And somebody said, Patricia's asking, she said, I love the wildlife too, really appreciate the designs. Do you illustrate for any other mediums, or would you consider doing so, including animated work?
I don't actually. I do know how to use Illustrator for drawing, but I actually don't use it because I think the tactility in using a pen to paper, it just shows in the print so much more. It doesn't have the same effect if you do it on the computer. I have tried. Please.
Yes. Okay. And I think we had a question at the start, which, oops, got another one. Do you sell globally or only UK?
I sell globally, yeah.
You sell globally, right? That's what I thought I heard. And Sarah's asking, what's the most successful marketing media platform?
Instagram shopping. Fantastic. If the product is in demand.
Of course, yes, because it's
yeah.
It's incredibly beautiful. Emily, thank you so much. And we're so glad you've been able to share with us all this stuff, which, I don't think would have come about if you had been working Monday to Sunday at Harrods. So thank you so much. A loss for them, but definitely a gain for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, right. So hello, thank you. I hope you enjoyed your networking session. Our next two speakers are Victoria Patrick, who is Community Engagement Manager at the Royal College of Art, and Silje Andersen, who is Interdisciplinary Programs Manager at Imperial College. For us, this is going to be the perfect story they're going to tell you of how a creative powerhouse and a science powerhouse, both based in White City, are collaborating to benefit local residents. They're going to tell you a bit more about their STEAM workshops, and I'm going to be very quiet now because I like puns, and I'm going to sprout a whole series of them. So over to you, Victoria and Silje.
Thank you very much. So my name is Silje Andersen, and I work in Imperial. And
I'm Victoria, and I am the Community Engagement Manager at the Royal College of Art.
Yeah. So today we're not actually going to be talking about any of the online delivery we have been doing in the last year. So I work in the outreach team at Imperial College, and we have done plenty of online delivery and mentoring and summer schools and other things on Teams Live. But what we're going to be talking about today is the good old days when we had live interactions with children. So as you probably know, we have new campus built up in White City for Imperial College, both us and Royal College of Art. So this is a collaboration we started a few years ago when we first moved into White City, and we're part of the new glossy, very fancy looking buildings coming up there. And we were very aware of the local community where students were walking past our buildings every day and maybe not really accessing those buildings, accessing the people. So we started working with an organisation called the West London Zone, which is an umbrella body working with different local communities or different local organisations and local families. And the students I work with are what they call at risk of social isolation. So they might have issues in school where they're not really fitting in, or they might be struggling with different things. And West London Zone builds a programme for them for a couple of years where they will facilitate learning. So they could be learning to ride a bicycle, and they might have reading support, etc. So we started working then with the Royal College of Art to set up some collaborative programmes where we thought we wanted to give students access to our spaces, but also to our people. And we also wanted to know from them what it was like to be in White City and what they thought about White City. So we set up a program called Creative Roots. And if I can have the next slide, please. Yeah. So Creative Roots was really looking at, we worked with a biologist from Imperial College and somebody who did illustration at the Royal College of Art, looking at their practice as artists and scientists and what, the different techniques they use to investigate local areas, to kind of communicate their findings, etc. We had 15 kids from the West London Zone that were in Key Stage 2, so they were sort of between 10 and 11 years old. And we took them to a local park, literally, like a park that they'd probably walked past many times before. Most of them had never visited. this park before, although they knew of it. We spent some time in there just looking at wildlife, looking at the, there's a pond, you can do pond dipping. They were looking with binoculars to find different types of birds and, just listing them and seeing what they were. And then took them back into Imperial College, into our makerspace at the invention room, where they were doing different experiments with what they find, chromatography, etc. And followed on, we went to the Royal College of Art, where they did illustration, collaging, making up new plants from the different sort of collages they were making, etc. And I think for the kids, it was more, I guess, an opportunity to meet somebody who is a scientist who maybe wasn't a white man in a white coat, but somebody they could talk to, somebody who was kind of like them and interested in them and interested in what they felt about the area. They could come into the space and not feel that it was something that they couldn't access. And similar for the Royal College of Art, they just thought it was really cool to play with all the art equipment, to get to use the crayons, to, look at 3D printers at Imperial College, etc. So this is something we've been doing for a few years. It became so popular over the years, and West London Zone kept coming back wanting more. So we thought maybe we should actually try to set up some different collaborations, because it's not only biology and illustration that we provide. So last February, just before lockdown, we managed to run the first of a second sort of type of series, which was Creative Bricks. Hand over to Victoria for the next slide.
Yes, next slide, please. So Creative Bricks, and I'll just say it was very early in my time at the Royal College that we delivered this project together, and I'm lucky to have been involved. It really builds on the kind of successful model that Silje has just talked about that was developed through Creative Roots, but looking at architecture and engineering, and also, thinking about that architecture of White City and how, and how young people can think about the future architecture of White City as well. So it was led by two really amazing practitioners, an architect and an engineer from Imperial. And as you can see, they did a number of activities, just as Silje has talked about with Creative Roots. They were able to get out into the city. They were able to draw, sketch, look at the buildings and really have a think about the world around them and kind of look at it in a new way and in a different way. And they got the opportunity to come along to the RCA's site and get into the print lab there and find out a number of ways of printing different materials and working with different materials. And then they got to design their own kind of visions for the future of White City, which was really cool. They were doing collages and even making their own kind of cement and materials that they could construct kind of buildings that they would want to see in White City in the future, and had an exhibition on the third day, which was really fun and a great way to invite their families into the makerspace at Imperial as well, so that they could see their work and also, get more familiar with the spaces in the area that you might walk by every day, but not often go inside. So as an early project and one of the last that we were able to do in a physical space, it was really exciting for me and really brilliant to see young people respond to getting the opportunity to work with scientists and artists in a different way, in a really direct way over those 3 days. And hopefully we'll be able to see a Creative Roots come back in spring of 2021. And so Silje is busy planning that project now and thinking about how that can be adapted in a COVID secure way.
Yeah, and I guess as well, we are quite keen to work with people who, I guess the purpose of the programme is to give young people the tools and access to investigate their own local environment using art and using science. So if there are people who are keen to get involved and who have ideas for type of art science collaborations that we could run in the area, then we'd be very happy to hear from you. As Victoria said, hopefully either in a COVID safe environment, or if not, we have done a lot of online during the last year.
Okay, Silje, Victoria, thank you so much for a really interesting presentation. I mean, setting out, the work, tremendous work you've done together, and well, before COVID, and you're not telling us what you did so much during COVID, but hopefully it all comes back online next year. We've got, Jessica's actually said, is there any way for people, university students like myself, to get involved?
Yes, is the answer. Obviously, we haven't, as Victoria said, we've planned a Creative Roots delivery for Easter, hopefully.
Yeah.
But we are always looking to set up new streams for this workshop. So maybe just drop me a line and we can have a chat. Yeah.
Okay, great. And question from Sarah, how did the children's attitude change towards their local area based on the experience? What did you see?
Yeah, I think, I mean, especially from, so they come, the West London Zone workers, they had key workers that come with them. So we get quite a lot of feedback from them as well in terms of the children's reaction. I think some of the more surprising parts that they said were in terms of the friendships that they were making. We've had quite a few students over the years who have had difficulties in, making friends, shyness, etc. So that's been quite a positive one. But I think from the children themselves, the sort of nice reactions we've had, it's very much been like, but I've never been here before. I've never seen this. I think in the architectural workshop we went last year, because we worked with a local historian, and showing them what White City used to look like a long time ago, and mapping it onto what it looks like now and what it looked like 20 years ago. I think for them it was quite they just thought it was quite cool to see their own space in so many different ways, and feel like it was invested in. So yeah, that was probably one of the positive ones.
Okay, great. We're going to have to move on in the interest of time. So thank you all for coming. I hope you've enjoyed the evening. Steph is, there's several things I just need to flag up. If you're not already part of the Upstream community, please do join us. Just jump on our website, sign up to the newsletter. We've got a few things coming up in January, which is we've got a book discussion with Julietta Dexter, who is the CEO of a large communications agency, and it's about purpose and injecting purpose into your business. We're starting a coffee club in January as well, and various other things. But I suppose all I need to say for now is thank you everyone for coming along. Stephanie is going to push you into rooms. And I should just say Happy Christmas. Go into your room, have a nice chat, have a good drink, share your email addresses, and have a lovely Christmas, everyone.